Shalom. I want to give all the praise and all the glory unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me this truth. Also, I want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing this truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. All right. So I'm going to kind of go back to basics a little bit with this lesson and through the Spirit. I'm going to go on Genesis 25 and I'm going to start at 19 and basically dealing with the birth of Jacob and Esau. All right, because these two babies, basically, the Bible is big part of the Bible is centered on these two babies, Jacob being the forefather of the Israelites and Esau being the forefather of the Edomites. Okay, so let's read it. Start at 19. It says, "And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padan-aram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived." All right. "And the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh." All right. So the children that's struggling in the womb is Jacob and Esau. Jacob, who's the forefather of the Israelites, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and then Esau, who is the forefather of the Edomites, you so-called white people. Okay, the two babies, when they were in the womb, in Rebekah's womb, they were fighting. They were trying to kill each other. Like it says, it struggled. Right? Let me get that verse real quick. I'm just gonna see what that word "struggled" means. And I'm gonna see what it means. See what it says real quick. Because really, the two babies were trying to kill each other. Yeah, look. So the word "struggled" in that verse is let's hear out. This is how you say it in the Hebrew.
Strong's H 7533. Ratsats.
Ratsats. That's how you say struggled. But so the babies were struggling, and that's what it says. The KJV translates this word in the following manner: oppressed, broken, break, bruised, crush, discouraged, struggled together. Grievously oppressed, to crush each other. See, so these babies were trying to kill each other. That's the nature of Esau. He's trying to kill Jake, and Jake can defend himself as a baby even, right? So the two babies literally were trying to kill each other. The word "struggle," it goes into one of the definitions is to crush. And really that's what it is, because Esau, he's still trying to crush Jake, verse 23. "And Yahweh said unto her, two nations," because you got to remember, the babies are fighting in her womb, in her stomach, right? And she's like, why, if this is a blessing, why am I thus? Why am I feeling this so bad, right? Because those two babies were trying to kill each other. They were trying to crush each other in the womb. And this is what Yahweh tells her. He says, "And Yahweh said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels." Okay? Let me look up that word "manner" real quick. This is all on the fly, through the Spirit. I didn't plan anything, but let's see. it goes into um, it goes into a way of life, the way of living, right? So two different people were in her womb, two manner of people, Jacob and Esau. They're two different. Also goes into race when you look at it on the blue letter definition. So two different races. Okay, people will sit there and say, well, how could that be? Well, anything is possible with Yahweh. All right. So it's not impossible for Yahweh to set up. That's what he did. He literally set up two manner of people, which is two different kinds of people, two different races in Rebecca's womb, right? Let me see. So let's go to real quick, because people will say, well, how could that be, right? Go to Matthew 19 and 26 for a precept. It says, Yahushua beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with Yahweh all things are possible. All right, so everything is possible when it comes to Yahweh. All right, you might think something is far-fetched. You might think something it could never happen, but with Yahweh, he's unlimited, man. He's the creator. He can do anything he wants. If he wants to make two different babies, two different races in a woman's womb, then he can do that. He did it right here in Genesis 25, the 25th chapter, when you have Esau, the forefather of the so-called white people, and Jacob, the forefather of the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's those are the two babies who are brothers, right? That's why Job, he said that. I think it's in Job 30 and 29. Let's get that real quick. Job 30 and 29. It says, I am a brother to dragons and a companion to owls, right? Because he's talking about these two babies, basically, because Jacob was a brother to Esau. Esau is a dragon. He's a serpent. He's the beast, right? Esau he's the devil. He's the serpent. He's the devil manifested in the flesh, So that's why Job, he said, I'm a brother to dragons. Is why the Edomites, technically they're Hebrews, but you got Hebrew Edomites and you got Hebrew Israelites, all right? So technically there are brothers, but they have a perpetual hatred for us, and that hatred started out in the womb. That's why those two babies are fighting, trying to crush each other, kill each other. See, it says, let me see. Well, I'm going to read it anyway. It doesn't say anything about the brotherhood, but Ezekiel 35 and 5, talking about Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. All right, so Esau has a perpetual hatred towards us. The so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, the Edomites, who are the so-called white people, they have a perpetual hatred against us, right? That's why they're also called the accusers of thy brethren, right? Let's get that. It's in Revelation. Let's get Revelation 12 real quick. But, originally, Esau was Jacob's brother. That's why Job said, I'm a brother to dragons. He's talking about that serpent Esau. And in that chapter 30 in the book of Job, when he says that, I'm a brother to dragons, you go in on read more of that chapter. It's that whole chapter is talking about the wicked, who is Esau, Edom, the so-called white people. Revelation 12 and 9. It says, oh, that's the Spirit. I'm going to read, yeah, that's the Spirit that this came out. Revelation 12 and 9. This is why he said, I'm a brother to dragons, right? Now we're reading it. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. All right? So that dragon, we just read it. Job said he's a brother to dragons and a companion of two owls. The dragon is right here. We're reading it. Esau, Edom, right? Who's the dragon that's going to get cast out? The serpent. Esau is. Who deceives the whole world? The so-called white man. He deceives you with his false doctrines, his false philosophies. He deceives you with his false images of the Messiah. Our people really literally believe that the Savior looks like a so-called white man with long brown hair and blue eyes, and a beard. But no, he's actually described as a so-called black person in the book of Revelation, chapter 1. All right, so let me keep reading. And I heard, verse 10, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of Hamashiach, the power of his Hamashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power Yahweh day and night. All right. So Esau, he's constantly accusing us. Right. That's what he does. He's that dragon that Jacob and Esau were brothers. Let's go back to Genesis. And 26, it says, and after that came his brother. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a couple. All right, here we go. And Yahweh said unto her, verse 23, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Okay? So now all you got to do is apply this to real life. You have 2 different people, right? Separated from the bowels, 2 different races. One's going to be stronger than the other. You see? The so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are stronger, whether it's spiritually, mentally, physically, we're stronger than the Edomites. That's why when you look at the sports world, you have our people dominating the sports world, whether it's boxing, UFC, football, basketball, and a lot of that stuff is fixed and set up. But the best and greatest athletes are of the nation of Israel, all right? Verse 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. So Jacob and Esau were twins, right? The first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So Esau came out with red. He looked red because when so-called white people are born, they don't have they have transparent skin because of the lack of melanin, the lack of pigment. So you can see the blood through their skin when they're born, And they're also a very hairy race, A lot of these so-called white men, they're hairy, man. Some of them would take off their shirt, and they got like a patch of hair just covering their whole chest and their back and shit. This is a characteristic of Esau, where Jacob, more of a smooth skin, not as hairy. All right. 26. And if you notice, the Bible only describes Esau. The Bible doesn't even say nothing what Jacob looked like. Why? because Jacob looked like his mother and his father. He was dark skinned. Verse 26. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 old when she bare them. Right? And so that was spiritual that Esau was born first, because it also it was symbolic for the rulership and the dominion. Esau would have the dominion first, and Jacob was holding on to his heel. Why? Because he was going to have dominion in the kingdom, which is, we're coming upon that time. The transfer of power, the transfer of kingdoms. Right now we're living out the last days of Esau, Edom's kingdom, but Jacob holding on to Esau's heel was symbolic because it represented the transfer of kingdoms, the transfer of power, the transfer of rulership that's going to take place. Let's get that in 2nd Esdras real quick. 2nd Esdras 6 and 9. It says, you know what? I'm gonna start at 7, because Esdras is asking Yahweh. Let's read it. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? So Esdras is asking the angel of Yahweh. He's saying, when is this rulership going to end? The rulership of Esau, Edom. And when is the beginning of the beginning of it that followeth? Meaning, when is Jacob going to come into power, right? Verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. So see, this was that parable, that metaphor, because Jacob was holding on to his heel, right? So Jacob was holding that heel, and it says here, for Esau, verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question Esdras asked thou not. See, so that's what those babies being born when Jacob, because they were trying to crush each other in the womb, they were trying to kill each other, but Jacob was still, when Esau was born first, he was still trying to get at him. He was holding on to his foot, his heel, and now Esdras, it explains to you what that was symbolic for. It means Jacob is I'll start out with Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So the angel of the Lord broke down this parable for Esdras, telling him, hey, Esau's the end of the world, Jacob is the beginning of the followeth. That's why he was holding on to that heel, because it's transition, right? First, Esau has dominion, but then Jake is going to have dominion in the kingdom. We are going to be the rulers in the kingdom, you see? Go back to Genesis 25. Keep reading about this. Verse 26 says, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 old when she bare them. So that means he was 60 years old, because a score is 20 years. So 80 is 3 times 20 is 60. Isaac was 60 when Jacob and Esau were born. Okay, verse 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. Right? That's why characteristics of the Edomites, they want to be hunting all the time, right? That's what they love, hunting. They have hunting magazines, and if you look at their hunting magazines, on the cover you're going to find all Edomites, right? That's their thing, that's their deal. Meanwhile, Jacob, he's a plain man. He's just dwelling in a tent. Like now, what's Jake like to do? They like to just sit at home, playing their damn video games, just chilling, you know. Esau wants to go climb a mountain with high rocks, put himself in danger, because that's the type of spirit he has, right? He's a hunter, he's a daredevil. They like doing, Esau likes doing different things than Jake, overall, generally speaking. Verse 27, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So they each had a favorite. Isaac actually liked Esau better because of the venison and his hunting skills, right? Because venison is like the meat you eat when you're hunting. It would be like deer or whatever you hunted down, you eat that meat. That's considered venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. All right? So this is how Esau got his name Edom, which Edom means red. Remember, the baby Esau was red when he was born because the blood was showing through his transparent skin, which, like I say, so-called white people, when they're babies, you can see they appear red because you can see the blood through their skin. All right, verse 30. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. So this is where Edom started, right? This is where Esau, Yahweh gave him that name Edom, right? Because Edom means red. And he was asking Jake, because he was out there hunting. He come back one day and he didn't kill anything, so he didn't eat. And he's telling Jacob, he's like, hey, man, feed me, please, help me out. I'm about to pass out. I'm about to die, right? 31. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright, all right? So Jacob's like, all right, I'll feed you some red pottage. And remember, that pottage was red because it hadn't been cooked thoroughly. The meat was still red, right? The meat in the soup, it was still red. It wasn't ready, it's another way you can tell these Edomites are who they are, because you just ask them how they like their steak, ask them how they like their meat, and a majority of them will tell you they like it with the blood. They like it uncooked, raw. I did a lesson about a year ago, maybe longer, where I had there was an article of a baby, and this Edomite woman was giving her baby raw meat with blood on it to chew while the baby was teething, right? So it was just a perfect gateway for the lesson I did, with Esau loving that red meat. He likes to eat his meat uncooked, like an animal, like a beast, like lions when they kill like a wildebeest. They're not going to cook it, right? They just eat it bloody, raw, That's how Esau is. He's like a beast. He is considered a beast, right? But he likes his meat uncooked. He likes it bloody, blood in the meat. He loves blood, matter of fact. Let's see, verse... and then, so Jacob says, yeah, I'll feed you. I'll give you this soup that ain't even done. It ain't even ready. He's like, I'll give you this food. But he's on one condition. And let's read what it is. Verse 31. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. Because remember, Esau was older than Jacob because he was born first. So Jacob was like, sell me your birthright. Because in the tradition, the firstborn would have the birthright, right? So it was originally, Esau should have been the chosen people, the Edomites. But that was not the will of Yahweh. The will of Yahweh was for you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans to be the chosen people and have the birthright. See? It says, verse 32, and Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? So Esau was like, man, I'm about to die. What am I going to get out of a birthright if I'm going to die? He said, just give me that red pottage. Just give me that meat. I know it ain't ready. I know it's still cooking. Let me eat it before I die. That's Esau's attitude, you know. That's why he has fast food all over his kingdom. Because fast food is for people who are on the go, who can't wait to eat. They just need to eat right there, right now, you know. So let's keep reading. And Esau said to Jacob, this is verse 30, feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore his name was called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall the birthright do to me? Verse 33, and Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Right? So Jacob got the birthright. All because Esau, and remember, everything's of the Lord. The Lord ordains everything. So the Lord was the one who made it that day where Esau wasn't going to kill anything in the field. He wasn't going to be able to kill something, go home and eat it. Instead, he didn't kill anything that day. Why? Because Yahweh didn't allow him to kill anything that day, so that this could happen, so that Jacob could supplant Esau. See? It's all the will of Yahweh. All right? Everything happens because of his will. Whatever Yahweh chooses to happen is what's going to happen. So he ordained it. Esau wouldn't kill nothing that day. He would come back to Jacob hungry and faint and ready to die and willing to give up his birthright. Okay? Because he didn't give a shit. Esau did not care about the birthright, right? He didn't care about being the chosen. Okay? Verse 32. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. So a lot of people will say that Jacob stole the birthright, but when you read the end of Genesis chapter 25, it tells you he sold his birthright to Jacob. He didn't steal it from him, like some people try to say. Because the word Jacob means supplanter, but he didn't supplant it in a fashion of stealing the birthright. No, Esau was willing to give up his birthright. Esau was willing to sell his birthright. So that's what he did. All right? Because why? Because Yahweh put the spirit on both of the brothers, and, he ordained it that way. Yahweh chose to set it up this way. Okay? Verse 34. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of the lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up, and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. See, so Esau despised the birthright. All right? Esau didn't give a shit about the birthright. All he wanted to do was satisfy his hunger, fill his belly, He wasn't thinking spiritually. He was thinking carnally, right? Let me see something real quick. I'm just trying to get the... So basically that word despise, some of the similar words means hold in contempt, to disdain, to be despised, to be despicable, to be vile, worthless, right? So basically Esau, Edom, his birthright was worthless. It was useless to him. That's why he was willing to give it up for a bowl of soup that wasn't even ready to be eaten, wasn't even fully cooked. Right? So I'll go ahead and stop there, but just through the Spirit, wanted to bring out Jacob and Esau, a little bit of, chapter 25, which just shows you where those two babies were twin brothers, were born, right? Because again, Esau, Edom, the Edomites are Hebrews, but they're Hebrew Edomites. They're not Hebrew Israelites, right? They're not the chosen seed line, right? So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying. But I want to give all the praise and all the glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rekakwadash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me this truth. Also, I want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing this truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the elect.